So I was just sitting here polishing up these Grover air horns I found on the last On the Hunt episode, and I have to say that a pail of water, some $2 SOS pads, and a little bit of elbow grease sure cleans them up nice. Look at that before and after. And then I was also thinking, I wonder if there's a way I could use shop air to test them out. So I rigged up this little bit of airline with some fittings, so let's give it a go. That doesn't sound quite right. There we go. Yeah, so those are going to be good and loud. Then I was also looking at how I'm going to mount them on the truck, because they're much bigger than the original ones that were on there, and I'll show you what I mean. So as you can see, they're quite long. So what I'm planning on doing is when we start to take all the stuff off the roof here, we'll fill in all those old holes, and then we'll obviously drill new ones for the front bracket. That'll be a little farther forward, and then this one will be a little farther back. But that is going to look sharp on there. Oh yeah.
I hope you'll accept my apologies for my profanity.
Apology accepted. No.
Yeah. I was just doing some packing with the peat after all that rain and snow, and the neighbor guys came out and brought his bed truck to give it a push. That'll work. Hey Peg, you like that? He's way heavier than I am. That's awesome. We're gonna get our shop built yet. Bed trucks are heavy. Yeah, so we made a few ruts there in the rain, but I think it was a good thing. Now there was a whole bunch of tandems here that were piled up over the winter. And I think what's finally happened is the frost has come out of them, and that's why they compress downwards. But yeah, I'm glad Nathan stopped in with his bed truck. That was pretty mint of him. Look how much it got squished there. So this should harden up nicely. So we'll get the Bobcat in here again, and we'll clear all this out. We'll level it one more time, and I think the next stage is getting the lumber dropped off, and we'll get the shop built. We got all the permits, and I had it staked out, but then of course we knocked the stakes out the back. That was the only one still standing, so I'll have to measure it out again and set that up. But again, 3 doors, so one for Snowman, one for LBL, and you remember what the third one's for, right? A pretty cool project. The Iron Duke's coming home, and I plan to bring it home when I get to 100,000 subscribers. So I always swore I'd never ask people to subscribe. I can't do it. I'm kind of like Whistling Diesel. If you like the content, you'll subscribe. You'll do the right thing, as he says. But yeah, so we'll get to 100,000 subscribers, and we'll bring home that cab over. We're gonna bring it in on the low boy, and we'll probably pull it off. I don't know if I'll use the peat or maybe just my pickup, and we'll pull it off the low bed. And then I don't know, maybe we'll have to use a bobcat to shove it into the shop. But before that, I still need to get the concrete pad laid down. So once the shop is up and all the tins on the side, we're gonna get it insulated. We'll get it tinned on the inside. And then we're gonna do 6 inches of road crush and pack that all down. And then we'll do rebar, probably, I don't know, 10 inch or 12 inch on center. And then we'll do 6 inches of 32 MPa concrete on the floor. And then we can back all 3 trucks in. So it's gonna be good. I can't wait. But until that day, Old Blue's outside. And as I mentioned, when I put the straight pipes on, I didn't really want to put these pipes on until I actually had it inside. So I was digging around on the internet to try and find a way to keep these from becoming giant rain gauges. And I found these. I don't know what you call them, stack caps or stack socks. But I got them from, I think it was Vivid Racing sells these, and they do 6 inch, 7 inch. These are obviously 8s for the 8 inch pipes. And they got a little hose clamp on there that you can tighten down. Now, of course, you're up pretty high here with these silly pipes. Okay, let's see if I can hold the phone and put them on the stack without falling off of here. There's something like that. Hard to do one-handed, but still much better than a bucket. I didn't want to use a 5-gallon bucket. Looks like hell, and then of course it bangs on the chrome. So these are actually pretty slick, and then you can snug that up to make sure that the wind doesn't blow them off. So yeah, so we'll use our Fleece Performance stack socks on the truck while she sits out here in the rain just a little bit longer.
I'm afraid you'll just have to wait.
I hate waiting.
Here we go. We'll flatten those ruts out. And just like that, it's good as new. So we took all that rock that was there and spread an initial base just so it doesn't get too muddy when they start building the shop. But she's all ready to go. All right, enough talk. Let's get back to working on Snowman. All right, so I think what I'm gonna do now is delete everything off the roof here. We'll take it all off. I mean, obviously the horns are not the right ones. We'll get the lights off as well. And I was looking, these are the flat fronts I was talking about in an earlier episode that are the kind of the classic styling, period correct. And these actually look not too bad. I mean, the plastic chrome here is garbage. But I guess worst case, if I can't get all new lights, maybe we can just get new torpedoes and we can almost reuse these guys, clean them up. So we'll take these off here. We'll fill in all the holes. I'm gonna delete the air conditioner. The lines were cut, so it's been deleted a long time ago. And the movie truck didn't have an air conditioner condenser. This guy's kind of beat up, and bearing sounds a little rough there. Now, I guess if a guy really wanted to, he could put a condenser in front of the shutters there. Or what I might do is on that last On the Hunt episode, or I guess a couple episodes ago, I found that complete red dot unit that looked a little more older and classic because it wasn't so wide, and I could just drill new holes and mount that if I really wanted to run a condenser up here. But for now, we'll take it off. Now, I really don't know what I'm doing when it comes to bodywork, so I appreciate any feedback or comments. I'm just going to use fiberglass because these are only small little 3/8 holes or whatever they are. They should just be able to fill in with a fiberglass filler, and then we'll sand it all smooth. But we'll try that, and if that's not what I'm supposed to do, please comment down below, let me know. But we'll give her a try, and we'll try and clean up this roof as best we can, and then we'll start moving on to sanding the back of the cab. All right, let's talk more work.
Ain't no use sitting on the wide bed. It don't matter anyhow. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. Not if you don't know by now. When you hear that rooster crow at the crack of dawn.
Okay, so still a little work to do. That guy rotted off of there. Have to dig it out and retap the threads. I guess a couple of them did. and clean this up. Those holes won't be too hard to fill, but that's getting a little big. I wonder if I use some mesh and fiberglass compound. I don't want it to leak, so maybe I'll wait to see what the expert viewers say about that. And check this out. This is one of those they were used in the 80s and 90s. They were like deer whistles, so the air would go blowing through there, and supposedly it would give out a high frequency squeal that humans couldn't hear, but it would supposedly scare off the animals. I wonder if it worked. Don't see them too much anymore. Yeah, and then someone's old, I don't know what that is, old rag got caught up there. Ugh, nasty. Looks like a shirt almost. Pearl buttons. There's got probably a story there. Okay, we'll continue cleaning up this this roof and get it ready for prime and paint. So that big hole there is actually for the air line that comes into the air horn. So here's my new to me Grovers, the long ones. And if we put that over there, it sure would be nice to reuse that hole. You could redo the front mount, but then the trumpet's kind of taken over the visor, and I don't think that looks quite right. And then if you look, because normally you have your air horn split between your outer and then the second one in, you kind of put the horn right in the middle. Maybe that's what that's for there, for the mount. But then because this truck had a condenser on the roof, they had to move it over. They had to shift them outwards. So I think proper spot would be probably right about there. Push that farther back. And then look, the horn, or the hook mount would go something like this. And it would sit right on that flat. That's probably what that was for. Yeah, that's where they're supposed to go. Okay, so I just gotta fill those big holes in somehow. Yeah, that's how they're supposed to look. Look at those minty trumpets up there. Beauty. Okay, stop dreaming, Mark. Get them off of there and let's start prepping that roof. Yeah, so we're gonna reuse these as well. These nice little short Grovers. What I'm planning on doing is I'll mount them underneath on the peat, similar to what I have these train horns mounted, probably on the other side there. And we'll mount them backwards so they don't fill full of road salt and grime and stuff. But then we'll get some use out of that horn honker that Teddy made us, and we'll finally have a functioning air horn on the peat. So, future episode. I just took off the holder protector of the lines that went up to the condenser. It's plastic, but it's still in really good shape. Probably because it stayed out of the sun. I bet there's someone out there that really wants it or needs one of those. And I was just looking, and for some reason there's these 4 screw holes that are in a really odd pattern. So I don't know, obviously someone screwed something on from the inside because then it pushed the aluminum out. So what I was going to do is clean those up, and then we can fill those tiny little holes with fiberglass. And then I'm going to start sanding this. If you recall from an earlier episode, when I had the frame blasted, I had the guy blast the cab and the sleeper as well. And everyone was commenting saying, there's no way you're going to be able to get that back to smooth finish. But I disagree. It's soft aluminum. I bet you if we sand it down, and then I took Ezra's advice and I got some high build primer and some self-etching primer just in spray cans. I'm just doing some experimenting here to see what's going to work. But I think we'll be able to use etching primer to adhere to the metal first, and then we'll sand that again, and then we'll use high build to take out, to fill in all the other little spots. So we'll just kind of do a small area and see how that works, and see if it's going to be something that's going to be a good formula for the whole back of the cab. Again, what I'm planning to do is I'm going to prep this myself with a good practice, and then the same side, the matching face on the bunk, and then I'm going to build it up with primer. We're going to sand it down smooth, and then I'm actually going to try and go get the coffee black. It's actually not a true black. It's kind of a coffee brown, I think, but it looks like black in the movie. One of the guys that does the Snowman's run was going to send me the codes. So once I get the codes, I'll get the proper paint, and we'll paint this. It'll be good practice because it doesn't need to be perfect because you won't really see it. and then we'll clear coat it. We'll see how that turns out. And I'll only paint to the edge here, because obviously we still need to, when we're ready, we can paint the entire truck at the same time. But I thought that would be good to paint this side and then the inside of the bunk, and then I can put the bunk back on the truck, and that'll at least be painted, because there's no way, you've only got a couple inch gap here, you're going to be able to do a decent job trying to shoot paint in at an angle. And you can see they tried to paint it, was originally this cream color, and they tried to paint it red, and that's about as far as the paint came when they were trying to spray it in through the crack there. So anyway, let's talk more work. I bet my neighbors love that sound on a Saturday. Yeah, that'll work just fine. All right, so now I'm going to whip up a little batch of fiberglass reinforced body filler. So it's basically Bondo with some glass in it. Oh, I don't have too much left. Used a bunch trying to patch the peat to put those pipes on. Oh, it smells awesome. All right, now what I've read is you just put a little bead across. You're supposed to make a pancake sized deal, and then just put a little bead of hardener across it. And stir it up really good, and then you got a few minutes to get it where you want it before it hardens beyond belief. And I'm sure there's probably, I think you're supposed to smear it, not stir it like I was just doing, so you don't get a whole bunch of bubbles. But again, I am not an auto body expert, but I'm trying. Okay, so we got kind of a consistent color, so now we'll just smear it in these holes here and try and get it as smooth as possible. Something like that. And I suppose if you really wanted to get fancy, you could aluminum weld these closed, but I don't have an aluminum welder. I'd probably muck up the panel with too much heat, not knowing what I'm doing. So we'll just do this for now. Okay, well now we're waiting for that to set up. I went and ordered some Dura blocks. This is a long block, and then some just off Amazon. So I got some 120 with the sticky back. And so we'll start working. I put my mask on, but aluminum's soft. It breaks down pretty quick. I'm just worried the sandpaper is going to fill up. That's okay. We got a big roll. So here's the fun part. Everything that gets done by hand. Yeah, it doesn't take much to bring it down. So you can see how rough that is where the blaster hit it. But that was what, 30 seconds of sanding? And it's already getting smooth. So I think it's gonna work just fine. A lot easier watching the guy sandblast all those layers of paint off than trying to put chemical and take all that stuff off that way and then sand down all those layers. So I think it's gonna work just fine.
Take a look out your window, woman, I'll be gone. You're the reason I'm a-traveling on. Baby, don't think twice, it's all right. Tell 'em guitar.
Yeah, everyone wants to do a restoration until it's time to do crappy jobs like this. This is where the time and the hard work comes in. But I mean, even in that short amount of time, it's cleaned up nice. We got our holes patched. I'll probably put a light film of regular body filler in there, but it's actually turned out quite smooth. I don't know if a wire wheel is the right tool for the job, but I find that after the fiberglass sets up, it just cleans it off. It doesn't take too much. Like if you used a grinding disc, I think it would take too much at a time. So the wire wheel seems to clean it up nice, but of course you're making fiberglass dust, which is why I wear a mask. So okay, well we'll keep working at that. light body filler. And we'll just kind of top dress. Those are pretty smooth actually. Something like that. And we're ready to paste. This stuff's much softer, so it's easier to sand. Again, I don't know what I'm doing. Just making it up as I go along. Learning from my mistakes, you would say. And one thing I discovered, almost by accident, I'm just doing a little patching on this side as well, is it is a nightmare to try and sand around the huck bolts, the rivets. And so what I did was I tried using the wire wheel, and it actually cleans it up all the way around, which makes it easy to sand, because now you just sand in between them. Yeah, that does a really nice job. And then you don't end up sanding the rivets flat, because a friend of mine had his truck done at a body shop, and I think they just used power sanders, and they just started going, and they actually sanded so bad or so hard that it actually sanded the rivet heads or the huck bolt heads flat. So yeah, I'll just have to wire wheel around all 800 huck bolts. But that's a good way. It goes pretty quick actually. Right on.
You gonna pick me one? Yeah, Chester.
Okay, so first we're gonna try this Sam self-etching primer and see how that does. Alright, we'll let that tack up. But it's funny, you think it's smooth until you put primer on there. And then you can see that some things just aren't quite done yet. But that's the joy of auto body. You do it, and you do it all over again till you get it right. So next I'm going to use some high build primer. And what this stuff's supposed to do is flexible acrylic coating for priming steel, aluminum, and fiberglass. So I think this will fill in any low spots. And then what we'll do is we'll sand it with probably some, I don't know, 180 or 220. We'll spray this on there and let that harden and see how smooth it gets. So that's the before, and that's the after. I think that's going to work just fine. Now I'll probably need to continue sanding it with 220 and keep working my way up, but I think that's going to be just perfect. Right on. And up here, I just decided to fiberglass the holes I'm no longer going to need. So these are the 4 for the condenser. And then of course, those are the larger ones for the back of the air horns. But what I used was, where is it? Some of this fiberglass matting. So I put a layer in there, and then I put a square of that mat to give it some strength for that hole. And then I covered it on top. And I'm still working on grinding it out, but hopefully that keeps the water out. I went a little larger than it needed to be. It should work. Okay, I'm just about beat. It's Miller time.
Maine to California, you sit atop a rig with 13 forward speeds and 300 horses. And when the run is over, that's when Miller time begins. Time to stretch out and head for the best tasting beer you can find. America's quality beer, Miller High Life. If you've got the time, we've got the beer.